Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio on W4HC Radio, where you can learn to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit to reclaim the true potential that exists within you through cutting-edge wellness, tools, and modalities. Here's your host, Sarah Banta.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio. I'm your host, Sarah Banta, and because this is my first show, I wanted to introduce myself to all of you listeners. I'm a health coach, natural health supplement expert, a busy mom of 3 teenagers, and I completed my undergraduate study at Stanford University with a degree in economics and psychology back in 1998. In 2016, I graduated from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and the Invincible Wellness System, which essentially taught me how to be my own doctor through Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine. But let me back up for a minute. I never thought I was going to go into health and wellness. I always thought I was going into finance and business of some sort, but my life had a different plan for me. And like many others in health and wellness fields, I was forced to suffer through many health challenges in order to find my true calling in life. My story started back when I was a child, and I was always a picky eater. Looking back, I was a picky eater because the amount of sugar and carbs that my family was able to eat never made me feel good. I always thought I was doing the right thing and that eating a low-fat, high-carb diet was the way to go, and that's what we were taught back then. Not only did it deliver mental and physical energy to my body, but I needed to think, and it didn't give me what I needed to think in school and to do my athletics, and it wreaked havoc on my whole immune system, my gut, and my stomach, and led to a lot of issues, including Crohn's disease, bloat, constipation, acne, PCOS, heavy metals, fertility issues, and trying to get pregnant was an issue, insulin resistance, and the list goes on and on. And as I was on my journey for health, I found no answers through Western medicine and started seeking out the answers on my own. Slowly, I chipped away at my issues like peeling an onion, and partially through my journey, my 9-year-old son at the time was diagnosed with leukemia. This was a mom's worst nightmare. I had been introduced to a supplement now known as Accelerated Silver that I started to give him in addition to cleaning up his diet, and within a year, not only were the cancer cells gone, but the anemia and the other nutritional deficiencies he had disappeared as well. He's now 17. He's never missed a day of school from the cold or flu in the last 8 years. And he's a national record holder for crew. And needless to say, he's doing well. That's on top of healing my daughter Michaela's anemia, allergies, asthma, and my other daughter Kiana's comprehension issues and migraines. I truly believe God gave me 5 people in my family with 5 very different set of health challenges in order to force me to broaden my education and understanding of the whole human body and how it works together as one system. I'm constantly amazed at how someone in my family will have an issue spring up in front of them. We will find a way to overcome it. And then I will be approached by a client with that same issue, coincidentally, within a week or 2. I'm on a journey to help empower families to take hold of their own health, help them reach their ultimate and optimal health physically, mentally, and emotionally. And my journey in health has led me to a more formal and informal self-education in nutrition, Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese herbology, fitness nutrition, and supplements. I believe that detoxification of the body is the primary step in allowing the body to rebuild and heal itself. Your body does want to and is capable of healing itself. I'm here for you to answer your questions and bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. And to start this exciting journey with me is Freddie Kimmel, who I am beyond excited to have here. Freddie is a functional health coach, a Reiki Healer, certified personal trainer, gut health specialist, and proud cancer survivor. He helps men and women eliminate brain fog, bloat, and belly fat through gut health. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Full Plate podcast, an excellent example of being human, State of the Art on LA's Talk Radio, and Dance Magazine. Freddie has a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the SUNY Brockport, attended SUNY Fredonia, and is a graduate of the Institute of Functional Health Coaching. He's currently living each day to its fullest in New York City and focuses on creating more value than what he captures. So welcome, Freddie.
What an honor to be here, Sarah. This is so exciting. I love the intro.
Well, thank you. And I'm so excited to have you here as my first guest, as your story is beyond amazing and inspiring. And it truly is the epitome of what health challenges can do for the soul, mentally, physically, and emotionally, and the springboard for taking your health to a whole nother level. So we know you've had quite a journey. Why don't you start your story and share with everybody where you came from and what you've been through?
Of course. Well, I can sum it up pretty succinctly. You know, I would say if I boiled it down to like the start point, you know, I had moved to New York City around September 11th, right after September 11th. And it wasn't long after that move, me moving to the city, obviously the incredible stress that was in the air running between the currency of the people, that I was just knocked down with this kind of mystery illness, chronic, terrible joint pain, for which at 23 years old, I just, you know, I ate Advil and indomethacin and, you know, all the anti-inflammatories, COX-2 inhibitors I could get my hands on, like you do at 23. And it was probably, you know, I was 26. It was about 3.5 years later where I walked into an emergency room with terrible abdominal pain and walked out with the diagnosis of testicular cancer. I had caught it very late. I'd had a misdiagnosis. You know, the primary tumor had spread to the lymph nodes and the peritoneum cavity, and it was a very quick wake-up call for 26, 27, when you feel so invincible. And I was facing chemotherapy and surgeries. And, you know, long story short, I went with the allopathic medicine model. I did as much chemo as you can do and a massive surgery called a retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, which is basically pelvis, cisternum. They take out all your organs and put them all back. And after that, it was just this, you know, I would say every 6 to 9 weeks, I was back in the emergency room with a twisted bowel from scar tissue. I started again, had severe joint pain. Still, that was never resolved. I started to seek out, you know, what could be wrong? What's causing this? Because it's really, life was just about being on the struggle bus. You know, I always didn't feel well. It was hard for me to eat foods. I was diagnosed, you know, through testing, I found a diagnosis of Lyme disease, heavy metal toxicity, you name it. I just kept going down that rabbit hole and unraveling what was the chronic fatigue, what was the joint pain. And I had this moment where I just kind of looked at my life and was just astounded at this was what it was. You know, I think this realization came, I'm going to say like 31, 32. I was just amazed at what I was doing just to live the day to day. And it was more about existence than any kind of thriving. So I just jumped in with both hands and both feet. And, you know, I went to immediately cut out all sugar and all, you know, drastically all carbs and salt, and, you know, really went full out ancestral paleo, and noticed a huge improvement in the pain, that just the needle went down. And of course, every modality under the sun, and probably every functional medicine doctor in the New York City area, some on the West Coast, you know, doing outside of the box modalities like ozone therapy and red light therapy and pulsed electromagnetic frequency and, you know, oh goodness, like a newer type of a stem cell therapy, prolotherapy, you know, you name it, I did it. I injected it into my body. And eventually, you know, I I just kept moving forward bit by bit, and had this, awakening where I had so much information in my body, so much from going down these experiences myself, that I started to write about it, started to blog about it. I started a podcast, and now here I am today, just giving back and really giving people, holding up the mirror and saying, look, I've been there. This is what it's like. It's real easy to chase wellness, like modality to modality, and you'll do that for the rest of your life. But you've really got to start listening to your own body, go inside. We're all so different. How one modality or treatment or supplement reacts in one body is going to be completely different between another human being because of the way we're created. So that is a skill to go inside and get your own answers. And that's sort of what I implore people to do through inspiration and the podcast and some of the coaching that I do. So Sarah, that is me summing up 13 to 14 years of chronic illness.
Well,
I got it.
It's amazing, and it's amazing how in the age of 20, how you just don't know any better, and you go the Western route. And is that why and that's one of our listeners' questions is, why did you go with chemo at first? Is that just you just didn't have any other thoughts of where to go? Well,
the cancer was very advanced, 10 to 13 tumors. Some were quite large in size. It was, at that time, I'm not sure there was another option. Well, there could have been. Also, I was 26 years old and just full of fear. And there were definitely doctors and practitioners. It was very fear-based. It's like, you need to do this. You need to do this tomorrow. We need to get going. You don't have time. And that's true. Testicular cancer is very, very quick to progress. The route is primary tumor to the lymph nodes in the abdomen to the lungs to the brain, and then that's pretty much it. That's Lance Armstrong's story. Very succinctly, you don't have a lot of time from first symptoms to the end stages of disease. So it is a cancer that responds incredibly well to chemotherapy. Etoposide, cisplatin are actually, the silver bullets to that cancer. So that was the path.
So during your journey and trying out all of these modalities, were there some that you swear by versus some that you felt didn't do much for your wellness?
Sure. Anything, we can think about everything, no matter what it is, a supplement, stem cells, lasers, frequency. It's all giving the body information, some more clearly than others. So if you let's just take a multivitamin, for example. It goes in the body, we digest it. It's broken down into materials for the inner part of the cell. And how much of that information gets into the interior of the cell where the body can actually use it as a building block? Surprisingly, not that much, depending on the form and the I guess the vitality or the living nature of that supplement. Because usually you think about a vitamin, it's like dried, it's powdered, it's been treated with chemicals. If I'm looking at that avatar for a multivitamin you see on the shelf at CVS, it's like cardboard. There's
Right.
not a lot there that your body. So I think the more we can get back to the idea that the body is really this symphony of vibration, right? We're all sound. It's moving. It's constantly moving. If we break down the cell to the mitochondria, there's spinning nanomotors in each cell, like little turbines. They're processing, they're breaking electrons off, they're forming adenosine triphosphate and making energy from electrons. So it's like, we can get down to that level, like what makes you move into a different state really fast? Like song. I mean, I know song, I was thinking about this morning. Does song sound like a treatment or a therapy? Well, I do this a not-for-profit called Sing for Your Seniors. And one thing I didn't mention is while I was in New York going through all these health crises, as I was singing and dancing, on a a music theater, Broadway level in New York. And one thing I do is volunteer my time with Sing for Your Seniors. We go into seniors' homes that are sometimes just bedridden, and we'll sing to them for an hour. And you would be shocked to see people get up out of bed and all of a sudden start like moving and walking across the floor because song reaches a different spot in the brain. So that would be another, that's a bridge. Where does information reach the body on a deeper level? Yeah. So I think about, back to your question about what's really worked, I think for me, some of the best things have been anything that upregulates the oxygen into the body. So anytime we oxygenate the tissue. And so that could be breath work. That could be something like ozone therapy, which for people listening, you're like, ozone, that sounds like something that's depleted in the sphere of the earth and causing really bad skin cancer. And it is, but there's also therapeutic ozone, which is 3 molecules of oxygen, which, whatever modality you get that in the body, whether it's, mixing it with the blood or it's rectal insufflations or it's direct inject or it's, auto hemotherapy, it's a way to oxygenate the tissue. So it's providing information to the body, and all of a sudden you've got this rejuvenation effect. I think ozone was like a great thing that along my discovery, it definitely did. I like to say one thing that ozone did is it put air back in the tires. It was something that added, and it adds electrons. So it also checks that box. But it really only is going to reach the areas where you have blood flow. So that would be soft tissues, anywhere where there's lymphatic drainage. But as far as like collagen and bones and deep into the body where we have some stored toxicity, that's where I found ozone had its limitations.
Gotcha. Well, as a side note, I believe the reason the accelerated silver helped my son so much and helps me and our family keep well is that people call it liquid oxygen because it oxygenates the blood essentially. So that's just as a side note and kills all foreign pathogens. But let's talk about the AmpCoil and how this device works and was part of your wellness path.
Beautiful. So the AmpCoil is a PEMF device. So that's pulse electromagnetic frequency. And essentially what it is, it's an amplifier that's hooked up to a modified coil, an air coil. Some people might look at it as like a modified Tesla coil if you're familiar with Nikola Tesla. And it drives this pulse electromagnetic frequency wave and encapsulates the body in this just like a bath of like beneficial magnetics. To root it back to the Earth broadcasts a pulse electromagnetic frequency called the Schumann resonance, and it's very beneficial to human bodies. The average is like 7.83 hertz. And the AmpCoil is generating a pulse electromagnetic wave. It's also combining frequencies between 4 and 2200 hertz generated from a tablet, just like an iPad. And it's opening up the body and broadcasting sound into the body. It's really sound therapy. So the body first is an electrical body that governs a chemical system. And there's a great book called The Body Electric. You can get that on Amazon. That's really good. Another book that's excellent for PEMF, if you want to do a deep dive, is The Fifth Element of Healing by Bryant Myers. And those are great books to understand how it works in the body. AmpCoil is something that I listened to a podcast on. And right away, listening to the founders talk about the technology, I was sold. Because I believed in sound therapy. I believed in the power of song. And then this seemed more targeted and more focused. And I understood from listening to a myriad of different experts that when we can get sound, when we get frequency into the anywhere and everywhere in the body, we can really benefit as far as wellness. So I bought an AmpCoil and started to try it. And while I had gotten myself to a really good level of functionality, it was so much work to keep the day-to-day going. And once I started to coil, because essentially how it works is you'll do journeys, sound journeys on this system. The average is about 33 minutes. But you're sitting back, and while these frequencies run through the body anywhere between 4 and 2200 hertz on these magnetic waves, your body's getting all these lessons. It's an entrainment device. So it's just, when I say that entrainment, another good way to look at how the AmpCoil would help upgrade or provide information to the body is it's like hitting one tuning fork. And if you hit it and it sings an A flat, right? Mm-hmm. If you put another tuning fork like a foot away, that other tuning fork's going to pick up that vibration and start to sing the A flat as well. Mm-hmm. So we can give our body these beneficial frequencies and hope that the different areas start to sing and harmonize, and we pick up the vibration we were meant to have. Now, luckily, the software in the AmpCoil is just programmed by this divinely intuitive team. And that's really, it's nice because there are other frequency delivery devices out there, and they just don't have the software, the done for you guide. It's, there's programs like Deep Sleep and Nutrition where you can kind of prime the receptor sites for getting the optimal nutrition, or there's like the Deep Sleep program, all the beneficial frequencies that go into dropping the brain into those waves that are complementary to restorative, that restorative state. Journeys like Relax All or even Positivity. It's just really neat to have. And it's honestly, it's such a cheat for me because one thing that the AmpCoil has supported my body in doing is finding its own balance. Mm-hmm. So throughout the day, if I'm able to work now like 12, 13 hours or travel cross country, and I just posted an Instagram video of me coiling in the airport, which it's hilarious to bring your AmpCoil through airport security, but it's totally doable now that the new model is 12 pounds all included. Yeah. And I popped it out, and everybody was looking at me and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to coil before I get on the plane." And they're like, "Well, what does that mean?" I was like, "Well, I'm going to give my body." I was taking a red eye, so I did deep sleep to ensure I slept a little bit on the plane. Yep. And then I did a little circulation journey to make sure while I'm sitting in that airplane that my circulation was as good as it could be. Again, giving my body the information that it needed to perform like it should, because those seats in the airplane, the circulation is a big reason for fatigue as well as hydration. The air is very dry, and then we're huffing, the not optimal air quality in a jet. I'm always amazed at stewards and stewardesses on the airplane, and I'm always amazed how they're functioning and breathing in that air quality, because I can just taste that jet fuel. So to get back to the coil, it's my little it's my favorite little biohack, upgrading biology and our physiology so I can do what I do at a very high level. And it's a first thing that I've ever had that I keep going forward. Everything that I would do, like ozone, when I would stop doing it, I would have this big slide back. I don't need to coil all the time, although I love to, and it makes me feel really good. I have bigger windows where I just don't need to do it, and my brain function, cognitive ability has just really come back online after going through so much toxicity, whether it was the chemo or the Lyme or the heavy metal toxicity, and my labs. My body is healing itself. Yeah. It's not the coil. My body is taking that information and doing what it was divinely programmed to do.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been using the AmpCoil for over a year. And I was, before this, using the Skioh machine, which I had to go to a practitioner. And that's the machine that diagnosed my son with his leukemia and diagnosed me with all of my issues and helped me get healthy. However, I had to go to a practitioner. The device is, $20,000. This AmpCoil is for home use. And ever since having it in my house, I am my family's doctor, and our whole family uses it on a daily basis. And when I was introduced to it, I knew that 2 of my kids and myself were suffering from parasites, but the AmpCoil did not know that. And when we used it for the first time and spoke into that tablet, parasites came up as number one. And so it was confirmation that this thing knew what was going on in my body and my kid's body, and it cured it. I mean, within a journey, I shouldn't say cure, within a journey, the parasites had gone. And like you, I now use the brain reboot. If I've got a long day coming up, and I need to have good brain power, I use that beforehand. And speaking of flying, a week ago, we were on a flight that literally I thought I was going to die. The turbulence was so bad. So I was really shaken when I got home, and I put myself on that machine and I totally settled down. I did the relax program, and I also did the sleep program to help me sleep that night, and I slept like a baby. It is amazing. Yeah. And it's easy to use. My 13-year-old can get herself on it, no problem, set herself up. It's just an amazing machine that is great for home use, and I can't say enough about it. So yeah, I'm so excited about it. It's
really cool. And just to speak to the I know you were mentioning about the Skioh, and for those at home, the Skioh is just it's a quantum biofeedback device. And again, it's like pulling information from different levels of all over. It's like pulling information from the body, from the area. And then the AmpCoil, what you mentioned, the voice feature, what the tablet does is it takes a voice print. And it just takes a recording, a 1 and 30-second recording of the voice, and it's looking at the highs and lows in the frequency. So it's not diagnostic. It's not telling you you have this, you have this. It's looking at the average of those highs and lows in your frequencies, and it's telling you, here's what you might need help with today. Here's where you might need assistance. And then we're putting those just the frequencies from your own voice into the program so you can get assistance that day. It's almost like, looking at, and I like to tell people this, it's like, 700 million cells in the body, outnumbered 10-1 by bacteria. Everybody is full of bacteria and parasites and viruses. It's all good. We don't want to eliminate anything, but what you do want to do is you want to have everybody in the sandbox playing together like good friends. So It's like if you see the Kentucky Derby and there's 30 horses racing across the finish line. What 3 horses are out front that day? And that's very similar to the voice print, giving you the highs and lows in the voice. What do you need help with that day? And again, it's just this it's like you said, it's a divine device, and we're so lucky to have access to technology like this. And it's technology that it'd be wonderful if everybody had this in their home. I see that. I want to manifest that for the company, and just I think it's going to be a game changer.
I agree. I mean, with my clients that have used it as part of their protocol, I incorporate the supplements from Accelerated Health Products, but then I also put them on a journey or a cleanse from the AmpCoil, and the combination is far more, gets them results far more better than what they're getting from their doctors. I have my niece who's been on 4 rounds of antibiotics. She's a water polo player now, playing at UCLA, and she had a strep, either a strep or a staph. The doctor couldn't diagnose it, was putting her on antibiotics, and it kept coming back. And I put her on some supplements, put her on the AmpCoil, and for the first time, it's gone. I mean, there were signs that the full infection is completely gone for the first time in 12 months. So it's just unbelievable, and I'm just so excited. And it is affordable because there's a payment plan as well that you can do on a monthly basis. You don't have to buy it all right out at once, and the amount of money you save by not going to the doctor is, it pays for itself. But I'm just so excited about it, and I'm so excited about what you're doing with the company and how you've taken your experience and really really use that as a springboard to help others. And wanted to talk to you about your Freddie Set Go and the Beautifully Broken podcast as a platform, which I love listening to. But maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the podcast and again, to speak to just to touch on the AmpCoil one last time, I am so excited to be involved with the company at a very high level, standing in creation of what we see it to be and how we see it interacting with each individual human. And they are such a, it's a new paradigm, and just to speak to I think you said it was your niece who was having the issue with the infection, when she was swimming. It's a new paradigm to think about this body as just this milieu of all these different friends and creatures and viruses, and it's always we'll always be rebalancing. We'll always have states where there are areas that are out of balance, in flux, and that is the cycle of life. And I think the more people think about PEMF and frequency, what we've done is given you this tool to keep rebalancing. Less of a spot remover, right? Because that's like that allopathic medicine. Like, I want to eliminate this and this and this, and then I'll be good. But to rebalance is really where the power is, because we're always going to be pushed out of right. We're going to be put in uncomfortable situations, whether it's a dirty airplane ride or whether it's a dirty locker room, and to be able to rebalance. It's just that speaks to me to the cycle of life. And that's right. What we're in this state of flux. So, jumping back over to the Beautifully Broken podcast, I'm so passionate about health and wellness, as you can tell. Yes. And I get amped about it, no pun intended. And I had dreamed about doing a podcast. I was like, I really want to, I love coaching. I coach one-on-one on FreddieSetGo.com. I'm really moving away from that and just working with people that absolutely need the one-on-one, because it's so time intensive. And what I wanted to do was eventually evolve to a platform where I could have the experts and the doctors and the speakers and the modalities and survivors that had been through what I had been through on a show where we can just hold communion and sit around the campfire and get real. And yeah, it can be sterile and clinical, but we can also just like pull the gloves off and be like, what happened? What was this about? Why does this work? Why does this not work? And that's a Beautifully Broken podcast. So episode like 35, we come out with an episode every single week, and just game changers in health and wellness. And they continue to get better and better and better. And I see it evolving into something like a forum where there is like a group coaching program where everybody in the Beautifully Broken community can get on, and I can, even an extension of the podcast. I'd love to do a Facebook Live once a week, which I love doing on my Facebook, Freddie Kimmel on Facebook. And just talking to the audience, be like, where can we take this to step 2, 3, 4 after you heard this guest? Because it's all about jumping in and taking action. But then the frustration for me is, how do I scale it? And the one-on-one coaching is very limiting. And now doing what I'm doing with AmpCoil and the podcast, there's just no time left in the day. So I've got to be mindful of like my self-care. Yes. So it's like, that's, I love the podcast. I love speaking. I just got a chance to do, again, coming from the Broadway music theater world, like put me on a stage, and not in an egotistical sort of way, but I love storytelling. I love to connect with people. I love using my voice to just where can we connect and then up level together, because the power as the whole is like exponential. That field, harmonizing the field, whether it's in the body or your community, that's when you get magic. That's when you get true shifts in community wellness, global wellness, because we're not going to do it the one-on-one model. It's just so it's good, but it's limited. And so that was the idea of the podcast, is like, where can we take it to the next level?
Well, with you, there's no ego. It's all about love and helping heal others and sharing your story and other stories, which is how people learn, and people are searching. The medical paradigm is not working. It's broken. So people are searching, and so many people are ill and autoimmune disease. And that's where I feel the same. I'm trying to provide a platform and a place where I can help reset and rebuild immune systems and help people understand why their body has broken down mentally, physically, and emotionally, and where that comes from, and how you need to fix your physical foundation first, and then help with your emotional and mental state after that. And all of these modalities are necessary. You can't just have the AmpCoil. You can't just have supplements and diet. You've got to get rid of your stress. You've got to make sure that you're surrounded by non-toxic people and full of love. You have to make sure that you're getting your sunlight and vitamin D. And all of these things are important, and you can't just do one thing. And then the other part is I wanted to just touch on, some people might be wondering, well, we're trying to get away from EMFs and electromagnetic fields. How does the AmpCoil not provide a negative EMF? Can you just touch on that? Because it's something that I get that question a lot. Well, aren't we trying to get away from EMFs? And I just wanted to go back to that topic real quick.
Sure. As I mentioned before, the Earth, produces an electromagnetic field. And the reason why it's beneficial is it comes, the Earth is essentially a magnet with a magma core and layers of iron and dirt, and they're all spinning, so they're creating this magnetic field. And in the waveform and nature of that magnetic field is a pure sine wave. That's the same sine wave we use with our technology. And that's why it feels so good in the body. And I almost would challenge everybody in your audience to, now I have a tri-field meter, so I measure the areas of my home. And I know where my home is generating non-beneficial frequencies, or I'm getting intense radio waves. Mm-hmm. Look near the header of your bed or the footer of your bed and see if there's a light socket. Because if there is, there's 60 hertz running through that socket. And that 60 hertz, like that pattern of it's like it's a stressor to the body. It's like laying there listening to the alarm go off in the morning and not shutting it off. It hurts. That's why that's why you see clips in people's of in a movie throwing the alarm, because it's a stressor. That's doing it whether you realize that when you're in that non-beneficial frequency, that's what your body's doing inside. That would be the same thing in sitting in Wi-Fi all day. I hardwire my computers. Mm-hmm. I'm online right now talking to you with a hardwired connection, because the Wi-Fi, because I'm so attuned to frequency, if you turn on the Wi-Fi in my apartment, I can feel it right in my front teeth. They get a little numb, and it's very subtle. But that's an example of good to bad. Again, we use a pure sine wave from the device. The best thing I could say is get on one and try one. Reach out to, Sarah through Accelerated Health, or, reach out to AmpCoil.com, and we can find you someone who has a device in all 50 states, and you can go try a session. But you feel really good and really relaxed. Now, I've done other PEMF devices that use different waveforms that are a little more agitating, and there are different frequency delivery methods, like a Rife machine, which it goes into the body in a different way, sometimes by holding electrodes or holding a plasma tube that can make you feel really wonky for 2 weeks, because again, it's just how does it fit in your energetic system. But we could do a whole show on this, Sarah. The fifth generation of Wi-Fi that they flipped on the switch in New York City on Wednesday. I think it was the 26th. They started 5G in New York. So it's a real thing. And for people who don't know, it's the fifth generation of internet. So that's between 30 gigahertz and 300 gigahertz. It's such a powerful signal. It needs booster cell towers all over, and it'll go right be right absorbed into the human body, whereas like the last generation would kind of run along the skin and charge people up and make them sensitive. They have no idea the health implications long term of this, but they went ahead and flicked it on. So the island of Manhattan right now is another test site. So people, I guess we'll see. We'll see in a couple of years what the data comes back is how many autoimmune conditions are popping up, how many people are rushed to the emergency room, what happens with suicide rates. I don't want to be a conspiracy theory guy, but this is it. We're going to see a change in the population because, again, the body electric, we communicate with an electrical signaling first. You will see shifts in wellness across the country. I don't know what they'll be, but we will. I guess we'll be witness here, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a couple years. I think it's going to be a couple months. I think the damage is going to be very quick and drastic, unfortunately. And hopefully more areas stop the growth of 5G. I'm in California, and I think California and New York are the first to roll things out, unfortunately. And we started seeing some of the 5G towers go up. I don't think it's actually started yet, but I see the towers, unfortunately. I'm just trying to protect myself and maybe move eventually. We'll see. But I don't think there's anywhere to escape. So we'll see. Well, going back to you, do you ever feel like you are drowning in a sea of the health and wellness influencers and just that lifestyle?
Yes, that's that comes up for me a lot. I think that's the inner critic. That's probably the ego. If I, as I move into other areas of life here, transitioning from performing, and I can easily jump on Instagram and be like, oh my goodness, look at all the people with like their messages about wellness and their products, and everybody has an opinion. And then I look at a podcast that somebody has like 5 million downloads, and I could easily say, well, I'll never be there.
Yeah.
And I have done enough healthy self-development and have a good enough gauge on how I'm different and unique, and we're all different and unique, like truly the most beautiful snowflake. My message is unique, and it's special, and the person who needs to hear it from me and my frequency is going to take it, and they're going to run with it. And that's all I have to focus on. And then the other thing I would say is that the more I learn, the more I realize there is no new information under the sun. All knowledge is knowledge of self. We've got to go back inside and see what works for you, what resonates with you. Your body knows. You're going to have a ping, a frequency, a response when you get a yes and when you get a no. So learn how to listen to the inner voice so you can get the strong yes or you get the strong no. There's many, many, many ways you can develop this, but that's what we've got to do. And that's going to speak to our wellness journey being accelerated.
Awesome. And before I ask my last question, tell people where they can find you.
Well, you can go to anywhere and listen to the Beautifully Broken podcast. It's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. I would love it if people listen to an episode and give us a review on iTunes. That makes the world go round as far as podcasting. It's also available on FreddieSetGo.com. Shoot me a message on there. Same thing on Instagram. I hang out on there a lot. Freddie Set Go is that account. And, I'm also hosting, all the community calls and webinars for AmpCoil. So look out for those because you'll probably see my face and some messaging attached to that platform as well.
Awesome. And you're so great on all of them. So my last question, what top things do you do or focus on to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit on a daily basis?
I make sure I get the right frequencies of light, whether I get outside or I'm sitting here right now being charged up by a beautiful red light therapy device that I absolutely love. Actually, I'll plug this too. Light Path to Wellness.
Nice.
is a beautiful light that's just coming to market at a really affordable price point and very, very powerful. So whether I get out and get full body sun exposure or I get my light, that's important. I make sure my sleep environment, whether I wind down with CBD or I throw on my blue blocking glasses at night or I do a meditation or it's something to bring my body into the preparatory state for sleep. That is a game changer. Water needs to be clean, needs to be structured in the right way. It needs to be, think about a water that's coming out of a pure mountain spring, flowing over rocks. It's going through these little vortexes. It's structured. It's alive. It's a living water. Living water is so important. And then the last two are just going to be elite food. You know, as much as I can, I try to think about the food I eat, the sourcing, where it came from, how clean can I make it, and how good does it benefit my body. And with that, eat less. The body doesn't need to eat 5 times a day, 6 times a day. That's old, antiquated information. You can go many days without eating, experience fasting. And the last thing would be, in this world of complicated design where things are a little toxic and woo-woo and we're getting lots of different frequencies and signaling, you know, find a time where you can get the earth signatures. When you can get frequency from the earth, whether that's barefoot, grounding, whether it's getting a session on the AmpCoil, whether it's, you know, how am I going to get that information in the body to do that little reset so my body can do what it was meant to? That's kind of my list of go-tos.
Awesome. And I agree with every single one of those. Well, we are so grateful for you, Freddie, today for joining us, especially as my first guest. I'm so excited to have had you on. And we're now going to go to a short commercial break and be right back with my 8 top tips to do at the first sign of a cold now that it's cold and flu season.
Are you wanting to optimize your physical, mental, and emotional health? Visit www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products to detox, reset and rebuild your immune system naturally, and to accelerate your body, mind, and spirit with cutting-edge supplements and solutions. Get Sarah Banta's personal advice on a protocol just right for you. That's www.acceleratedhealthproducts.com.
Alrighty, we're back and with my 8 top tips to do at the first sign of a cold. Number 1, add vitamin C through lemons. Eat the white part of the lemon as it has the most vitamin C. This is actually better than taking a vitamin C supplement, and you don't want to eat other fruits as they have too much sugar that will actually feed the viruses or bacteria. Number 2, add apple cider vinegar to your drink. I drink this every single day, regardless if I'm fighting a cold or not. It can stimulate white blood cells to speed up immune function and fight infection. I like to add stevia and oxalate, which is also on my website, and you can search that to it with hot water or cold water for a delicious drink. As a bonus, apple cider vinegar helps the absorption of the vitamins and the minerals in the oxalate drink. Number 3, subtract the sugar and carbs. Those bad viruses and bacteria thrive on sugar and carbs. So as long as you're ingesting them, you are keeping those buggers alive. Number 4, subtract the meals through fasting. And Freddie mentioned this earlier. There's a reason that starve a fever is a saying. As you fast, your body achieves autophagy, which means it's cleaning up the bad sick cells and boosts the immune system to fight infection. As you're fasting, you are also reducing inflammation throughout the body, which is the environment that bacteria and viruses need to survive. Number 5, add accelerated silver. I mentioned this earlier in the podcast. Every 90 minutes, you take 2 teaspoons. It tastes like water, looks like water, and you leave it in your mouth for at least a minute, and then you swallow. You can actually gargle with it for a sore throat. It is known to kill all foreign pathogens, including viruses and bacteria, with no known side effects. Number 6, add Restore. Restore it heals leaky gut and rebuilds your good bacteria in your gut, where 80% of your immune system is. You take 1 teaspoon 3 times a day. Number 7, add oxalate, which I mentioned earlier. This covers your basis as far as giving your body the proper amount of vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes, including vitamin C and your vitamin Bs, which are essential for a strong immune system. Add acceleridine iodine. The iodine is known to kill viruses, bacteria, and parasites. So also, I want you to use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. If you need any help from me, contact me, Sarah at acceleratedhealthproducts.com, and join us next week with my interview with Kelly Rumpel on how to help with anxiety and depression naturally. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for joining us today on W4HC Radio for Accelerated Health Radio with Sarah Banta. Make sure to tune in every week at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to uncover your highest potential through natural and innovative wellness modalities.